States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Groff. Here. Commissioner Oliver. Here. Alderman Madden.
Here.
Commissioner Gazana.
Just made it here.
Commissioner Buckmaster. Commissioner Bartlett.
Here.
Mayor Pifalski.
Present.
Senator Trepetowski.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Statement of public notice.
The agenda was posted and distributed to all news media requesting notification in accordance with the open meeting laws on Friday, September 2nd.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from August 2nd, 2022 Plan Commission meeting.
Move to approve. I will second, but I have one adjustment to them.
So make the second. All right. And what's your adjustment?
Under Resolution PC 532022, there's a in-saw suite to a new home, and that should be in-law suite to a new home.
It's not a new architectural term.
Not a new term.
All right. Any other changes or corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. Consent business. Resolution PC 056-2022, approval of a 3-lot certified survey map for Richard and Jean Hannaberry located at W192S9561 Racine Avenue and W192 South 9555 Racine Avenue, tax key numbers 2273-998003 and 2273-998002.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. New business for consideration. Resolution PC 054-2022, approval of a building site and operation plan for a 2-family residential structure located in Lot 18 of Northfield Green subdivision, tax key number 2172028.
Move to approve.
Second.
Alderman Madden seconded. Discussion. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a proposal for a 2-family structure in the Northfield Green subdivision. 2-family structures don't always receive Plan Commission approval, but in this scenario, due to the design guided for the Moreland South Corridor, the buildings in this area do come to Plan Commission. There have been a handful of buildings built by the same developer on this little cul-de-sac. I think they've pretty much built all the buildings there. This one is similar to the others, but still having its own character. There's actually an increased level of masonry on this one. The supplement talks about some of the averages, what we typically have seen for masonry. There's a lot of architectural details, so the Plan Commission's been comfortable with some reduced masonry. These buildings are a bit higher than some of the others, so that's definitely something that's commendable and notable. Otherwise, it does meet our main design guide intentions with the Prairie and Craftsman style influences in the buildings, higher quality materials. And as with the other buildings, staff is recommending approval.
Questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Resolution PC 055-2022, approval of a building site and operation plan amendment for Fry Automotive located at South 107 West 16311 Loomis Road, tax key number 2296966.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Discussion. Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. Jacob Fry of Fry Automotive is here tonight requesting a building site and operation plan amendment. As you're probably aware, we've had an item that's kind of been deferred on the agenda for a couple months now, which is the main annual review for Fry Automotive site, which is located right on Loomis. We've had some issues with that property, some of which have led to issues and citations which are pending in court right now. And those citations really related to the idea of the site existing property not being in compliance with their approved plan. Most notably, too many cars not in marked stalls, wrecked vehicles or junk vehicles which aren't allowable, car parts and stuff stored outside. So as part of that, JJ has talked about at previous meetings, and now we're kind of seeing the initial plan about leasing some space on the property to the south of him, which is where his dealership was formerly located until he built this site. And on that site, he's now proposing an outdoor fenced area to house cars in. As far as this use goes, it's kind of a tricky one when we look in the zoning code, because the zoning code, number one, doesn't allow the storage of junk direct vehicles, period, even in the fenced area. So one of the things that would be really critical here is, I think, a handful of vehicles that JJ has that aren't supposed to be on his site already and definitely can't be over here, or anything that's wrecked or junked. So if some car's smashed, missing an engine, missing tires, isn't drivable, any of that kind of stuff, it can't be allowed here or across the street. But what we were kind of doing is looking in the code is the plan commission can discuss if they feel that this use on this site, because this isn't the main car dealership site, it's kind of the secondary satellite thing. The only thing in the code that it might fit into, which plan commission should discuss, is the idea, do we consider it commercial parking? The code has a section of the code that talks about commercial parking being allowed in this zoning with city approval. So as part of this solution, like I said, right now part of this site is asphalt. That was part of the existing gas station property. And there's a larger area shown on the site plan that JJ is now looking to fence in. And within that fenced area, he's proposing gravel on the areas that are not currently asphalt. And he would like to have this for that storage of vehicles. Right now, there are still some cars there that are currently non-compliant that were kind of overflow from his existing site. So as part of this, the fence that's facing Loomis Road, so kind of be the eastern facing side of the fence, and then the gate, which should kind of be in the northeast corner of that fence, that portion of the fencing is proposed to be a solid wood fence, 8 feet tall, cedar privacy. So, nicer looking fence. What JJ is asking for is that on the western facing sides of the fence, to be allowed a chain link fence there 8 feet tall with barbed wire on the top. Now, staff understands that, if the area of fence that's completely invisible due to vegetation and stuff, or buildings hiding it, that may not have to be would then, but in the case of this property, the survey is lacking some data, and one thing it doesn't show us is where the tree line is, so I don't have a good perspective of how this new fencing lines up with the existing tree lines as far as how much cover is there going to be. Because Loomis Road is on an angle, as you approach from the south, there's a chance you might see some of that southwest part of the fence, or even from the road to the north, you might see some of the fence from behind the building. So one of the things we do have in here that we are recommending is that the site plan be updated to kind of show the tree lines, so we can see how much of the tree line's remaining. Is there any of the tree line that's being affected or cut as part of this, just so we can kind of get a better idea what's going on and a better idea of how visible it will or won't be. We do have the resolution worded to state that if any of the fencing is visible from surrounding properties or surrounding roads, that it should be solid wood. So that's something the Plan Commission may want to discuss, because when trees lose their leaves and a lot of deciduous trees are here, are we okay with this being chain link with barbed wire on the top when maybe the whole thing should be solid wood if we're really looking to block these vehicles? Another item that should be talked about with the Plan Commission is the idea of the surface type. Normally the code wants to see paved parking. In this scenario, JJ is asking, to leave the pavement area where it is and then extend it with gravel. So that's something the Plan Commission should talk about. Historically, if an area is completely enclosed in a fence that you can't see behind, they have allowed some areas of gravel. There's also some things in the code that deal with like striping parking stalls and drive aisle widths. Since this is more meant to be kind of a bulk storage and not, like a display lot, that's something the Plan Commission can waive, if they don't want to have specific drive aisles and things like that. But that's also another talking point the Plan Commission should definitely discuss. It is noted in Mr. Fry's submittal as well as in our approval that there will be no customers here, so customers aren't going to come here to shop for cars. That's not what this is intended for. This would be intended at most just to be a kind of a back storage lot for cars awaiting, to be repaired mechanically, not body work though, or a car waiting to be sold. Otherwise, and staff doesn't have a big issue with the remaining gravel as long as it can remain in a dust-free condition, as long as it's completely screened where you can't see it from any surrounding views. It's probably not a big concern. Like I mentioned, we got to talk about the idea of, are we really deeming this commercial parking, and is this the long-term goal we want to see for this site? And I know at one time when this idea was floated a while ago, I think there was some talk by somebody, maybe I'm wrong, the 5-year term or something, but is this something we want to be a permanent approval or have a limited time to it if we are going to allow it? And I think it's once again worth noting, the code does not allow, we don't have the ability to allow junk or wrecked vehicles, meaning it has to be all operable vehicles that are in typical expected condition, not anything that's smashed, wrecked, broken, not running. That would have to have like a junkyard approval, which is something that probably wouldn't be zoned here, I would guess. He is looking at adding some lighting, working with We Energies. We would need more details on the lighting, but we would be sure that it meets all the city's requirements for lighting requirements. The site in general has been vacant for numerous years. The property owner has kind of off and on and currently on trying to sell it again. Properties just definitely lacks TLC. Not a lot of care that's been out there. But definitely something that we're kind of noting that the site just needs a little bit of cleanup if this were to happen. At a bare minimum, definitely weeding this site and spraying of weeds in the gravel areas. Some of the gravel areas are starting to turn to lawn because it's kind of just been left so long without anyone there. We've had a handful of possible users look at the building over the past few months, but no one's really ever come forward with any proposals. So the resolution does have a few things in it that the Plan Commission should discuss, as well as a few conditions in there. At this time, staff is recommending deferral, as we think there needs to be a little more clarity in the site plan. We think it needs to show the tree line. We want to see the actual boundary of where the gravel parking would be. We want to look better at where those tree lines are in relation to the fencing type to see if it should be solid fence or not. So that would be our recommendation, would be to defer this, but still have a little talk tonight about some of these items so JJ knows when he kind of elaborates the plan a little more what to include and not include. One of the things that's worth noting is some of those discussion items would be the idea, like I said, yeah, are we okay with gravel or do we want paving? Are we okay with no defined drive aisles and letting him just fill it however he needs? What's our thoughts on the fencing type with the tree line? I think one of the bigger things too that's a concern is, I'm assuming JJ has good intentions. My worry is even with the cars that are on this site, his site has gotten no better. One of our conditions to allow this deferral previously was no more cars on site. I drove through the site last week and it's probably the worst I've ever seen it. With our city's SUV, there were areas I almost couldn't fit through with 1 lane wide because the amount of everything, tow trucks, cars for sale, lots of wrecked vehicles. The site's dangerous. There's no way right now a fire truck would be able to pass through some portions of that site. So my worry is if we allow this, and I hope this isn't the case, but my experience with this project is it going to just be filled up real quick and his site not get any better? I know this is meant to fix the problem, and I guess how do we ensure it fixes the problem and doesn't just make a problem bigger? So with that, we're recommending deferral, getting a little more detail, but like I said, I think JJ needs some feedback so he kind of knows what he's coming back with.
Thank you, Adam. Who wants to start?
There's something out there that's pending for the other site, right? He's going to be expanding the parking lot at the garage?
Nothing has been submitted. It's been talked about over the years, and I know there was a concept a while ago that there is more space there, but kind of one of the suggestions of staff was, I wouldn't guess, and I want to speak for the Plan Commission, the Plan Commission would be willing to allow him to expand that site until he at least can show he can be in compliance with what he's allowed to do now. Because the expansion would be sale cars, and I don't think sale cars are the issue. Most of the vehicles that are over are cars that aren't his typical type of sale vehicles, at least from what I've seen, and a lot of them have, are wrecked junk cars.
Right.
Actually, I'll let the petitioners talk first.
Okay.
Mr. Fry, what do you have to add? Is a microphone on?
Oh, no.
No.
There we go. That works.
Yep.
He summed it up excellent. I mean, I guess it's up to you guys whether or not you want, the tree plan or whatever you want to do. I'm not sure, what you want me to do there. To answer what you're talking about, that I mean, if you want to, I don't know how I reinsure. I haven't been doing that good through the years of making you guys happy. But I mean, if there's some kind of a stipulation that if my normal site doesn't get cleaned up because of this, then I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this will definitely help out the congestion in my regular site at my shop now, you know.
Can you explain how that's going to happen? What do
Well,
you do?
there's a lot of area over there that a lot of those cars that are in the space.
Relocating the cars that are on your present lot, which
Yeah,
are.
they're gonna go into that fence and,
Did I
yeah.
know, excuse me, did I notice anything, I mean, I didn't notice, estimated, capacity of the.
No, do you know any
I
idea?
don't, I
I can
don't.
tell you honestly, there's a lot of questions we have to answer here that would impact that, drive aisles and all that.
Right, I saw that, no striping and all that. But I guess then the question
Yeah.
is how
Is
will
how-
it impact total capacity of
Yeah,
your vehicles?
right. I don't have an answer for that. I mean, by what's sitting over there right now, there's like 70 over, I'm sure you guys all drove by, whatever. So there's like 70 over there now, and this is probably twice, maybe 2.5 times of what that is. So if you do the math, it's probably about 150 cars. So that would probably take an additional 70 to 80 cars out of my lot now, and I think that would pretty much put me where I should be at my current location, so.
Unless your
Yeah, well,
motivation isn't to
Yeah.
maintain the operation, but
I've been-
add to your total count.
the last 3 months I've slowed down buying a lot just because of all these problems, so, I mean, it is what it is, you know, but I've slowed it, that's obviously the key, is to not buy as much, so.
Commissioner Gazano?
Mr. Fry, you've been here several times and unfortunately have not been able to live up to the recommendations of this group or what you've agreed to do. My concern is we just exacerbate the problem because maybe we do this and then there's 200 cars there. There's no assurance from you that it's going to get better. I'm afraid we're just putting lipstick on ...
I mean, without doing it, I don't know how I could reassure you besides telling you, but, I mean.
And I guess to be fair, before we even get to, I mean, quite honestly, maybe it's a bad analogy, but you're like an alcoholic that says, I'm not going to drink anymore.
Well,
Keep on buying and adding in, and, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but I think before we even get to that point, the overall question is this appropriate use of that site next door? Do we want a non-junkyard there? I mean, that's, I know it's not going to be junked vehicles, but I guarantee you there's going to be junk vehicles there.
doesn't look much better
There
right now.
hasn't been much worth looking at there for many years, trust me.
Well, you know, and it's putting, I agree. I mean, that site by itself is, but that's a separate subject.
Yeah.
I guess my opinion is that with that site, and it hasn't been a pretty site for a number of years for any reason, and the fact is that the gentleman's coming to the table with spending thousands of dollars to lease the property and fence it off to the specifications that we're requesting, that's going to hide all those vehicles that he's going to relocate to make them more in compliance with the property he does have. And in good faith, as business people, you know, that's what we're trying to keep business people in our community. You could go in a lot of different communities and run your business. You know, we want to keep businesses here, but we want to have them follow the ordinances and keep a clean operation. He's going to spend the money he's going to spend to fence off an 8-foot-high, you know, fence around the perimeter of the property that he's going to have the cars housed. I'm in favor of that. But there has to be some type of coordination between the two properties saying, you know, you can't move all those 70 vehicles and then buy 70 more and have the same problem you have now.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's, I think, the board's concern. Okay.
So can we do something where when we get to that point, and I know we're not there yet because we're just talking about deferring it at the moment, but if we get to the point where we can all be in agreement, can we say this is the number of cars that you can put there and you're going to be fined X number of dollars for each car above that?
Yes.
Well, there's only so many you can fit inside there, right?
Well, there is, but there's also,
Unless you
You
put them
know,
on top. Well, I could put them on top if I got a loader, but I'm not making it a junkyard, so.
You've already
I'm not
exceeded
making
it.
them
you say.
yeah, I'm not doing it.
And we're not concerned about the things you say you're going to do. We're concerned about the things you say and you don't do.
Yeah.
So Alderman Madden is looking for, you know, a club behind that, you know,
You
something.
didn't
No, I
take
get
the
it.
shock collar, so I'm
Yeah.
looking for another club.
I mean, is it something that And Mayor, I don't know your thoughts on this. Is it something that we could probably be a Jeff attorney question that as part of a condition that, yeah, if certain things aren't followed, rather than going through a long arduous court process, which can be months out, that if A or B or C isn't followed, it's X amount of dollars each time.
Right.
You know, I don't know if that's,
Well, what we can do.
not that we want to do that, but once again, it's motivation to not.
This is already part of the court process. As far as the court settling his existing problem, we can get the judge to sign off on, you're not going to get 3 letters, you're going to get 1, and it's going to come with a ticket. And, you know, the judge is going to be aware of the problem, so, you know, it's not going to be okay, come clean it up and we're going to be good.
Right.
I mean, there's going to be teeth behind this. So, I mean, this isn't business as usual.
What you're referring to is, obviously, it's a remediation of the existing property and compliance with whatever we can agree to, if this is even a
Yeah, because so this approval is specific.
A and B.
Yeah, this approval specifically, this resolution would just be the new site across the street.
Right.
The next item, which is deferral, which probably still, it can't be resolved yet until this is taken care of, would be his annual review, which approves the other part of the site, the main part. So that is a separate topic, probably for a separate day.
It is separate, but they're married.
But they need to
Yes,
be
for sure.
tied.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't want to have this body put together, you know, what we'd like to do if the judge doesn't agree to it, because
Right.
she can just, I mean, it's still a municipal thing, and she can say, they're overreaching, I'm just going to kick all these.
The other two topics that were brought up would be the stoning of the lot, which I think is more than ample, and then the tree lines, even if you have an 8-foot high fence, you have a chain link fence there, and even if you wanted to put in some type of screening on a chain link fence, that always can be done. But I don't see a lot of visual, especially from Highway 36, you know, or the other road coming through with the other building being in the way at that trajectory where the fencing would be going through those tree lines. You're going to have so much density, I don't see a lot of visibility from those roads.
Well, those trees are
So,
pretty thick.
so some of the concerns when, you know, gravel from an aesthetic standpoint, I could care less about.
Right.
But this is not an area that's served by municipal water at this time, so those are all private wells. I know these aren't supposed to be junk vehicles, but there's going to be vehicles that need work, and they're going to be leaking oil and, you know, antifreeze and everything else. I don't want to have them on an area that this can get into the water table, you know, because now we probably already have a contaminated site
Well,
there anyway. Let's just be
It
honest.
is
We don't need to-
polluted there already.
We don't need to add to it, I guess would be the other problem. So and I don't know where I am on that, but these are all, you know, the other things for us to all think about. The drive aisles, yeah, I really don't necessarily think myself, and these are just my opinions, so you guys all can view yours. Drive aisles, I don't think they need to be striped, especially if it's gravel, that doesn't make sense. However, we do, you know, if there's ever a fire there, we need to be able to have emergency vehicles come in there, because if they're all just packed in there and you start a fire, well, now we have a huge problem. You know, we got something that won't go out for days. So, you know, you're going to have wide enough aisles there for equipment to get in and be able to, or have the fire department sign off on whatever. I mean, there's
Maybe it's a
number-
center aisle or something
Yeah,
even, or something.
right.
This is a leased property, correct? So
Yes.
what is the owner's position on this parcel long-term?
He likes the checks.
I'm sorry, say that again?
He likes the checks, the money coming, that's about it. He doesn't really have,
I mean, the owners put little to no money into improving anything. They try to sell it one week and not the next, but then it is for sale again the next week. I've heard rumors they want to reopen the convenience store, but then not. So I all over the place, I think, is the answer to that.
Yeah.
Why did you choose the perimeter that was defined?
I didn't want to take any of the woods down in the back because it's a great barrier. I didn't want to take any of the trees or any of that, so I kind of maxed out the area there. Versus the other side. The other side is where the owner kind of parks his car, and I didn't want to block any of that, even though like my original storage area is back there, but this is it's a lot bigger, you know, so.
And that's kind of the reason, I'm not questioning the trees maybe being an ample barrier, but when you drive out there, it's impossible to say, okay, where's this fence line going to be in relation to the tree line? And if the surveyor were to survey the edge of the tree line, which is an easy thing to do, that would at least give us some visual confidence to say, yep, okay, great, there's a 50-foot or 100-foot or whatever the width is barrier of trees. It's a lot more likely that's going to do a pretty good job of screening than, you know, like I said, I didn't know if half the trees are being cut down or not. You know, this plan doesn't show us that, which an easy tweak of some survey work would convince us of that, which was part of this adjusted deferral.
Okay, so the red lines that we're looking at on this, is that where the fence line is
That's the
going to go?
perimeter, yeah, that's the perimeter fence. I mean, almost immediately on.
Which red line are you looking
I
at?
don't
There's
believe
two
that's-
different things.
Okay, that's what I'm.
That's, I think, the property line, isn't it?
No, the red line.
Anything that's red would be the proposed fencing.
Yeah, the red is the
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But not here.
No, the red line that's on the
The reason I'm
non-photo
questioning
one.
that is just because the last comment was made that the existing owner that's leasing to JJ is potentially looking at, was he going to open up his business again? Well, if you're using that all as this lot, then that business is no longer going to be available.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way that the gas canopy is still there, if that owner were to come to redevelop, we would really, I would try to push to have that canopy come down. All the pumps are gone because of past contamination issues. So there is a lot of area in front that could be legitimate parking if it wasn't a gas station. So I really wouldn't be worried, because this area that's paved where he's proposing really was where JJ operated before, when the convenience store and gas station wasn't in business. So I don't think that's a big issue.
Yeah,
Plus, there is plenty of room on the north side if we needed to add more paving for the business, if it ever did come to fruition, which I wouldn't hold my breath on.
Yeah, the front of the store is plenty of parking for, if he was to ever open up that, and then after you said that thing about the canopy that you'd like to see, you'd rather see not a canopy.
Why
there
have a
anymore.
canopy if it's not for gas
And you
pumps?
told me that, so I told him that. Now he's on board to get the canopy down and finish the remediation of that side of the property, so.
And I can only speculate, but yeah, when you search the DNR's site online, it's very open and honest that this is a contaminated site, and the DNR is working with the owner like monthly or quarterly for like updates and remediation stuff. And so I think that may be part of the reason some other users have strayed away from doing something with the building, because they don't want to take that burden.
So I guess let's kind of work through these one by one. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Is this an appropriate place? Is this appropriate use for this? And if so, that's either yes or no. And then if it's a yes, do we want to put a time period on it?
I would say yes.
Yes, with the time
Yeah.
period.
Yep.
I'd say no.
Okay.
With a time period and teeth.
Okay. So we've got,
4 and 1.
yeah. What kind of time period?
Well, let me ask, what's your lease agreement?
5 years. And, you're talking about the length of time to be there, yeah. At least is 5 years.
Doesn't mean after this time period, we would come back and automatically say no, but you got to come back in 5 years, and if we don't like it,
Yeah.
the way it's going to be a no, but, or modified, or,
Right.
Well, I don't know, we typically do like a 1-year review back.
So, yeah, make a note of that. So I have this written right now that any annual review requirements, or biannual, or a couple times a year, or quarterly, whatever we do, whatever is tied to the site next door for review will also apply to this. So basically, if we're at one site, we're going to be looking at both. That's already in there no matter what. And that wouldn't cause us to revoke it unless if we were to come out there at the 6-month review when it's done, or a year review, and once again, nothing's any better, that could cause it to be reconsidered at that point. But if he stays in compliance, then that's fine.
Okay.
So, that being said, how long of an approval process do you want to put on this?
Look, if I can ask, when you say approval process, once,
So we're going to have annual reviews, that's separate.
right, but
So-
it's going to take him time to get all this work done, so we're looking at an annual review, or
Well,
two years, or whatever it's
So
going to be.
whenever we get around to approving this, because we're
Okay.
probably going to defer this today, we're going to approve this at some point, whatever time period you put on, the clock would start then, moving forward. Or you could say this is good until a certain date. You could do either one.
What we've historically done is when we give something a time frame from when they would be, take occupancy, meaning operable, then we'll start the clock there, because I understand it's going to take a little bit of time to put
And
together.
that sounds fair too. I mean, we have all kinds of options. on
So
that.
are we looking at like, say, 5 years, and then we review to see if it's still
I
a
would-
good place
my-
for
my-
what's
my-
going on?
My suggestion would be to do 5 years, and
Mm-hmm.
at 4 years, start discussions with him of,
Right.
we're going to approve this, we're going to extend this, we're not going to extend this.
Right.
It's been 5 years, you got a year to find some other thing, because we just don't like this on one of our main gateways in the community.
I think that's fair.
And that's what you're talking about. You're talking about just the whole idea in 5 years, not, because it's going to be on my yearly review
Yes, but.
that you're going to look across the street, right?
Yes.
We're just,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
If, let's say, the neighborhood changes
all right.
at the 5-year mark, is this really the best fit for the neighborhood?
We don't want you being-
Because I'm like, I know you're going to look across the street every year,
Yeah, no, we're talking about the actual use of
The
the
idea
property.
of the
Yeah.
matter,
So say everyone
yes.
does a nice building like you have across the the street minus all the cars.
Right.
In the area. Now we have this one non-junkyard.
No, right. I get
It may not be appropriate in that site, and we're just trying to find a way to easily, we don't want to give this a life forever.
No, I get it.
What is the timeline to complete this? And between now and then, are you going to be in violation at your current site?
That was a
You
question
are
I had
today.
too. Yeah, well, that's a question I had was if, let's say that it's approved either this week or tonight's meeting, or let's just say next month. Yeah, do you have any idea? Do you have a contractor kind of lined up? You know,
When I originally talked about just the fence, originally, they told me they were 9 months out. Now, I don't know if that's still the case. I know the world is starting to speed back up again. But, I mean, I don't know if that 9 months is, 5 months, 6 months. I don't know if February 15th is a good time to put up a fence because of the cold. I don't know, you know what I'm saying? And the grading too, So I'd imagine
grading
if it can be done,
grading can
I
happen
will-
any time of year. Grading doesn't have a time constraint. I mean, there's a lot of countries that choose winter grading because it's less messy.
Right.
But yeah, product is a different story.
But it's full steam ahead with what it is, but I bet you it's gonna take, 3-4 months at least, I bet, to get it done. If tonight, if it's full steam ahead, So I still haven't heard back from We Energies for their program, and I'm on the list, like everybody's on every list, waiting for everything, so.
So in the interim, what happens with the other site that's overpopulated?
It's getting chipped away since my buying has slowed down, so it's getting chipped away. I really can't put nothing across the street in it yet, anymore, obviously. So all I can say is my buying slowed down, so it's not accumulating like it was. So it should get less over the next couple months, and the aisles should open up here, so.
What's everyone's opinion on the paving versus non-paving?
Well, I don't think it would have to be paved there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gravel,
No-
I
no
think, is
paving.
adequate.
No.
So we've answered most of the questions that we can do today without him giving us more detail as far as times. Yes,
I do have one other question. There's a wetland delineated on here?
I had all that taken care of, and actually, I saw last week, and I think Adam was in on, or you generated the answer, the final answer.
So yeah, the one that crosses through this site was deemed artificial by DNR, and I don't know if Army Corps is involved, meaning it can be filled without needing a permit. It was basically a man-made ditch, but with that still being, so that's kind of a moot point. We have all the paperwork behind that, but that brings up the point of it's a low spot, it's a ditch. I can tell you for sure, our engineering department's not going to allow you just to fill a ditch. They're probably going to require a culvert or something. So one of the conditions in the resolution already is that as part of a zoning permit, which you would get, which is easy, we would talk to engineering, but I'm pretty sure they're going to want like a grading plan to kind of show us how you're going to grade, which probably means they won't let you block a water flow. So, okay, is there a culvert or something in there?
Yeah, right.
And that's something they would have to do as part of the engineering. If you look at the site photo, you can just tell it's a little dark depression, minor swale at that. I think it's all mowed anyway, right? It's,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it was deemed artificial, so that should not be a big concern.
Okay, so the only really last concern is the tree line as far as visibility from the northwest?
Yeah, and our suggestion on that was having that surveyed out, but then also showing the actual gravel boundary. I mean, it's probably safe to assume it's going to be pretty close to the fence line, but normally we don't assume things. Normally we say, where's your gravel line or your parking line, where your light poles like are shown, that's good. Where's your fencing, which is shown. I just think that having clarity of exactly where that gravel will be, and if there is going to be an aisle, so let's just pretend we agree on keep in mind, we're not having cars driving out, right? This isn't customer zone. It's JJ and or his employees taking a vehicle out here and there, I would assume. I would think you'd want an aisle, or at least one, so you can get cars out, right? If you just have cars parked in the back, that car in the back's never leaving. Right? We want to help facilitate things going in and out of here, hopefully out more than in. So, if we were to say we want an X amount wide aisle, what is that? So maybe that could be part of a site plan saying, hey, cars will be here, and this is the area that will be designated open for an aisle. That might be a good suggestion to something we can hammer out. That way we can get back to the surveyor and have them update that information.
Okay, so what is our requirement for the aisle?
Normally two-way travel is 24 feet, one-way is 12. Plan commission has discretion on that. this obviously won't be used like a normal two-way driveway. I mean, saying 10 to 12 feet is probably safe for this type of use. But, I leave that up to
Fire
you guys.
department agree to that, you think?
Well, their fire lane and fire street requirements are usually based on building frontage, so that doesn't really apply here. The wider it is, the more space it gives them, but I don't think they have a defined number that I've ever seen in the ordinance that would relate to a scenario like this. Not exactly. We could
My position
ask
would
if we
be-
want and get their take,
Pick a
and
number and
I don't
have
know.
them sign off.
I was gonna say, I
So-
think arbitrarily, I think like 15 feet would probably be good.
Yeah.
I would think, because that's more than what they would allow in a one, because they have to allow that on one-way travel driveways, so.
Well, it only looks like that from the red line from Loomis Road to the inside of the fence line is only about 50 feet to begin with. So if you're putting in a 12 to 24-foot aisleway, there's only going to be 1 or 2 cars parked on each side of the aisleway. Am I correct?
I don't, Jay,
That
did
was
you
the
know?
math.
If you look
I
at the
was just
top
doing
picture, it
too.
only looks like it's 45.1 feet,
Yep.
and that's about the same distance there. So maybe it's a 50-foot wide lot that, plus time the depth he's going. So a 12-foot wide lot in the center of that is going to give you more than ample room for a vehicle to go down and do any, if there was a fire.
Yeah, and if you do the quick math, it comes out to about 60 or so stalls, if it was laid out that way. I was just kind of running some numbers.
So again, 24 feet on either side of the aisleway, and it's going to be 3 cars max on each side of the aisleway.
It would cut them numbers down from
Well,
150. But
Do we need 24 feet? I don't, if you're going to do this.
The 12 feet is what I was basing it on.
Oh, 12 feet, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 60 feet would give us 48 feet,
Okay.
24 on each side.
Yeah, well, so then you're double stacking cars, because you don't have enough room, right? You got an aisle, you won't have enough room to get a second aisle. So in other words, you have an aisle down the middle, then you have parking and parking, or you have an aisle and you have double stacked parking and one line of parking here. Because in that 50 feet, there's not enough room to get another drive lane, so. For whatever that's worth, is double stack parking allowed on this? Sure, I don't know.
Yeah, I think when it's storage, it's not a concern.
Yeah, I think double stacking, triple stacking might be more of an issue, but double stacking I think would be fine.
Even on his main site, we've kind of come to accept double,
Yeah.
and triple's been more the issue. So did I hear 12? I don't know.
12 foot, I
Words in its
think, is just ingress, egress, whatever vehicle is going to come in there, would give them ample room to drive in.
And does the plan commission agree that, the tree line edge should probably be shown just so we can get an understanding of, that might help answer that question of, because if it's a narrow tree line and you lose all the leaves, you're going to see through it. If it's thick enough and you lose your leaves, you probably hopefully will still have some
We have
obstruction.
one resident down in that
Yeah, there's only one person down there.
west corner, so at least we should cover our bases to make sure that there's not
Yeah. So we can
there's
come,
a ample foliage
yeah.
coverage.
So we could get just have the site plan updated to show, the extent of the gravel parking, including, excuse me, the drive aisle area, and then include the vegetation line. And I would think that would fill in enough gaps that probably can make a good decision on it then next time. So I could get you a list tomorrow exactly what to give the surveyor, JJ,
Sure.
if that's what you guys decide.
The reason that one, what would that be, the west side red line stops where it does is because that's where the foliage, the tree line starts. So, I mean, if you look at it, the scale, it's got to be about 100 feet from that red line to the property line, and that's all trees and bushes there.
It's very thick.
It's very dense.
Yeah,
That-
it's
I mean,
very
from that
thick.
red line to that's all. I would have taken a red line, trust me, I would have taken the red line out as far as I possibly could. But I didn't want to go past the big brunt of the trees,
Foliage there.
Yeah,
So-
and I think that's fine, but I think that's why we want to have it shown, because there's been a lot of projects where we've, if that's the goal, let's just be sure on paper, right? It's, I'm not doubting you, but this plan doesn't show us that. Let's just be comfortable with that. I think we all have the same idea.
When you say shown, no photos, because, you're not going to know where the fence line is.
Yeah, like I said, I went out there and I couldn't judge, right? I don't know exactly where the lot line is versus how far this is coming in, but there is a lot of vegetation there. Just, yeah, let's see on a plan how much is being impacted or not impacted for that matter.
Any other questions you need from the plan commission to continue working?
I don't think so. What we could do is if we do defer this, then we'll, come back with a modified resolution, and then hopefully an updated plan. And, yeah, hopefully we can approve it from there if that's the way the plan commission wants to go then. And then what we would just do is an update for the next item that's on the agenda, still just defer it. We're going to keep it on there still, but we really can't do anything with that one until this is figured out, whatever that figuring out is. And then same thing with the court. The court, there's really no point in dragging on a court and staff time and attorney time and judge time if it's something that it's kind of working its way out this process.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, motion to defer would be in order.
I'd like to make a motion to defer.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion to defer, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's deferred. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'll get you some updates tomorrow.
For tomorrow?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
all right.
I'll email them to you.
All right, because you know what tomorrow is.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. I'll call you in the morning.
All right. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
JJ.
Old business for consideration, Resolution PC 056-2021, approval of an annual review for Fry Auto located at the pre-mentioned site and tax key number. Actually not, across the street. South 106, West 16301 Loomis Road, tax key 2293996001. 2.
Move to defer.
No second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's deferred. Miscellaneous business, anything?
Nothing.
Motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 6:40.